Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our co-hosts, Sri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage with consumers online, in-store, and everywhere in between. And now, here are Sri and Peter.
Welcome, folks, again to the CPG Guys podcast. It's Sri and PVSP, and today's episode is to celebrate Women's Month on the CPG Guys. Every November, we feature women executives in the CPG industry from large brands, retail, and startups alike. We're proud that for the third year in a row, we will be doing this. Peter, man, wow, what a month. We're honored so many female leaders have joined us for this month. And how are you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing quite well, Sri. This is as important a cause to me as it is to you, I know. We live in households that are populated by females. I know how important your mother is in your life as my mother is in mine. I watched my mother rise the corporate ladder and face a whole lot of challenges around gender equality that were absurd and unnecessary. And I promised myself when I was an adult that I would do my share as an ally to help break down some of those barriers. So I'm really excited to talk about Women's Month today and to feature really fearless and successful women, entrepreneurs, business leaders that are showing how women can succeed in the corporate world and do so despite some of the unnecessary obstacles that have been put in their place. So I'm happy to be partnering with you to make sure that breaks down. I know we've got some really big news around that soon.
No debate about that, Peter. Without my mom and my wife's sacrifices over the years, I would not be where I am. And I know it's no different for you as well, Peter. But you just said we've got something to announce. So tell us about the special partnership we are establishing from January 2023 to actually celebrate Women's Month on the CPG Guys.
Yeah, so Sri, we've decided to become formal partners at the supporter level of Next Up, formerly known as Network of Executive Women. You know how we promote Next Up on all our episodes. We talk about how important it is, but we thought it had to be more than just talking about it. We wanted to make a financial contribution to help support this incredibly worthy cause of trying to advance gender equality in the workplace. Starting in January 2023, we will sponsor individual memberships for corporate female leaders and entrepreneurs to be part of Next Up so that they can leverage everything from learning development programs, the opportunity to attend regional and national events, and all sorts of live and virtual speaking engagements. We're very excited about this. We've got about 50 memberships that we're going to allocate out to a lot of great entrepreneurs. I think the first one we selected was unanimous between the two of us, Sri. We wanted to offer it up to our dear friend Katie Holtz from Grocery Shoppy, so she'll be the first one. I think we've got a couple more in mind, but we want to do it to people who might not be able to afford the corporate membership, but could dramatically use the allyship, the power of the network, and all the resources that Next Up brings. So if you want to know more about Next Up, Sri and I encourage you, go to nextupisnow.org/CPG Guys and learn more about this incredible networking organization and educational resources and trying to change the culture that we live in to ensure that women can advance in the corporate workplace. So very exciting time for us, Sri. I know you and I talked about this for quite a lot over the last couple of months and landed on this being exactly the right thing for us to do. I couldn't be more happy to do this, Sri.
No doubt, Peter. I'm grateful, thankful, as well as honored to have your allyship in this journey with me as the CPG Guys. Peter and I are committed to gender equality. We will not back down, and we want to do our part so that we can partner with female leaders in the startup space as well as in corporate leadership and get you working with Next Up Is Now, especially if your company does not sponsor it today. But hopefully that may change in the future, and we encourage brands, retailers alike to check out nextupisnow.org/CPG Guys, as Peter just said, and learn more about this great group. So, Peter, thank you for that. But before we get to our guests, let me remind our audience that all of our content can be found by visiting cpgguys.com on a browser. The website, of course, is brand new, has rich content and episodes that are actually organized into themes like retail media and loyalty. If you aren't already joining us on LinkedIn and you haven't followed us yet, please do so because you'll join 17,000 plus other industry professionals on an entertaining educational journey. Also, we are managing closed groups on LinkedIn, such as CPG, e-commerce, retail media professionals, and there may be others in the future. Over 1,000 plus professionals are already part of this, so please consider doing so yourself. We are also on other social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Check out our series on Knowledge Drops, which is intended to be a fun way to learn about our industry. You can find it easily on many of those platforms by simply searching for CPG Guys Knowledge Drop in the search box. Remember to check out our friends, the FMCG Guys podcast, hosted by our friends Daniel and Efrain. They take the CPG Guys podcast format across the pond, and they speak to retail and FMCG luminaries from a European perspective. All you have to do in a browser is visit fmcgguys.com and check out the latest addition to our family, the CPG Scoop, hosted by Jennifer and Riza, two close friends of the podcast. They actually conduct snackable conversations with industry veterans. It's a fun way to discover what's new and next in CPG commerce and marketing. Visit cpgscoop.com to learn more. Elevating your brand with full funnel activation, retaining your talent, staying focused on e-commerce, and the store shelf, of course. That's what today is all about. And hence, we're introducing you to none other than MPG, or Market Performance Group, that covers all of this, is waiting to talk to you, and so much more. So I'm going to get right into it. Joining us for today's episode is Rachel Tatro, who leads omnichannel at MPG, Rhonda Johnson, who of course I've worked with in a previous life leading business development, and Lisa Kent, who too I have met and worked with in a previous life, who runs the FlexForce Talent Group at MPG and was the founder of the Luminations Group, which is where we work together. And of course, my dear buddy, Mr. Bond, join me in welcoming to the podcast Rachel, Lisa, and Rhonda. Folks, how are you today?
I'll go first. Hi, I'm Lisa Kent. I'm happy to be with you today. Really excited to have the chance to talk with both Shri and Peter and be with my team, Rhonda and Rachel.
Hey guys, Rhonda Johnson here, head of business development for MPG. Happy to be here. Shri, it is lovely to see you with your baseball cap on. I tried to find one that matched yours, but love being with you guys today. And nice to see you again, Peter.
Hey guys, Rachel Tatro. I'm the EVP of e-commerce and omnichannel for MPG. Nice to meet you both. Good to be here.
Awesome. And before we get to the questions that Peter and I have carefully prepared for our conversation, Rhonda, could you kindly take a minute or so and let our audience know where they can find MPG, and then give us a brief introduction to the company itself and the services you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So two ways to find us, probably more than two ways, but obviously www.marketperformancegroup.com, which is our website. And then certainly on LinkedIn. We're very active on LinkedIn. You could look us up, Market Performance Group, and we would love to have you join us and follow us on LinkedIn. So with that, let me give you just a little bit of a background on MPG. You know, we're 20 years strong at this point. Many of you that are listening to the podcast probably know our founder, Mark Greenberger. He started this company 20 years ago as a consultancy, and he has built this out over the last 20 years. And, you know, his mantra is, I was thinking about the Field of Dreams and Kevin Costner, and, you know, Mark has built this company based on following the client and following what the needs are of our client. And today we are really full service in the context of everything from strategy, so strategize your plan, all the way through execution. We have a consulting vertical. We have an account management and order to cash vertical. We have a vendor number today with 138 retailers in the U.S. We have local offices in all the major cities of which you would expect us to, including Seattle, which Rachel will talk about a little bit. And we also have a very robust, what I'm going to call shopper marketing and communications plan. So strategize your plan, sell your product, share your message. That's kind of our mantra. And underneath that, which Shri, I think you'll appreciate, underneath all of that work is digital and omni. So everything that we do upstream in strategy all the way through execution, we have a lens of omnichannel, digital in everything that we do. And then the last thing that I would say is important to all of that is also analytics and insights. And that also streams across those three, what I'll say, core platforms in terms of very robust analytics and insights, whether it's digital related and or not. We have licenses with Nielsen, IRI, Numerator, Mintel, you name it. And we do a lot of analytic and insights for our team, again, up in strategy all the way through execution.
Thank you for that, Rhonda. Rachel and Lisa, let me ask you both the same question. Obviously, Rhonda's given us a good explanation of what MPG does, but if you both can just take 30 seconds, tell us about your role and what you deal with day to day.
Okay, I'll start. So today, so my background actually is in CPG. I've been with MPG for now a little bit over a year. I've spent the majority of my career across multiple categories, large CPG companies like Procter & Gamble, Ferrero, as well as East Point Sports. So at MPG, I am responsible for overseeing the entire e-commerce and omnichannel practice. So think of us as omnichannel commerce. So from sales to media to marketing and the digital shelf. And we're able to support across all of our clients' businesses, both on Amazon as well as retailer.com.
And just to give a little bit of color with our story, so we're also about a year into being officially a part of Market Performance Group, acquired about a year ago now. But we have worked closely with the team for the 21 years that we've been in business, always focused on marketing and placing the right talent into open gaps, and at the same time working on innovation. And when it came to go to market and sales strategy, we always called in MPG. So now we're just part of the team, and so far, so good.
Thank you to all three of you for that. Of course, for our audience, we're going to include links to their LinkedIn profiles, the MPG corporate website as described by Rhonda, in the digital liner notes of this podcast episode. So let's get it going. And I'll kick it off with the first question. Rhonda, I'm going to come right back to you. You kind of gave us a little bit of the 101 of MPG, but let's go to the 202, which is what areas of the CPG retail industry are you focused on? Are you primarily digital and omnichannel these days, or you still focus a lot on the in-store business? I personally tell the industry very often that even e-commerce, the warehouse for e-commerce is actually the planogram on the retail shelf in-store. So to me, it still comes back to in-store at the end of the day. If you're not the boss there, e-commerce becomes a nice to have. It can't be the other way. So I'd love to know where you guys stand at them.
Yeah, so, and Rachel, you can jump in as well. So in terms of the 202, call it, on MPG, I would say that we're very balanced across a number of brands, right? We're slanted a little bit on HBC, I would say, in terms of health and beauty, but we do a lot of work in center store, and we also do a lot of work in a number of other areas: switch, M&A, innovation, go to market, upskilling talent, right? Within organizations, everything that we do has an omni digital lens on it. So, Shri, would I say that we're primarily focused on omni and digital? No, but would I say that everything that we do for our clients is focused on omni and digital? Yes. So it's an element of go to market. It's an element of innovation. It's an element of your supply chain strategy, right? It's an element of A&P spending from a marketing perspective. Everything that we do for clients has that lens on it. Rachel, I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to add.
The only thing that I'll build on that, Rhonda, is that at its core, when we talk about our ability to support our clients from an e-commerce and omnichannel perspective, our vision is fairly simple. We want to help them capture and delight those consumers wherever that point of market entry is. And so when we think about the holistic shopping experience, yes, everything that Rhonda said, we have a pillar to support that. But at its core, consumer is the boss, and that could just be my Procter & Gamble my Procter & Gamble experience speaking. But consumer is at its core our focus area.
So Shri, we've got a P&G alum in the house. Now I got to get a little more buttoned up here. There's no slacking when there's a P&G alum. We have to be on our best game, don't we?
No, we got to have fun.
The one thing I wanted to come back to, Rhonda, on the 202 of the Market Performance Group is there a particular vertical you guys are focused on? Is it food and bev, or is it all aspects of CPG, such as personal care, home care, things of that nature?
Yeah, I would tell you that, I mean, our core is personal care and beauty, right? Primarily. However, we have very strong capability in terms of center store. I will tell you that we are laser focused on pet right now. And again, it's been the mantra of MPG, kind of follow the trend, know where the trend is going. So pet is a big space for us right now in terms of things that we're looking at.
Consumer electronics, we play big as well.
I would also say food. We are both in the center of the store, and we're also in candy and confection at the front end of the store. I wanted to just add, because I think P will appreciate this, Shri, when you said the e-commerce warehouse is sort of the planogram of the future. Well, how I know Peter is from many years ago with the first nationwide online e-retailer in groceries. It was way too early to be in that field. But I think what we learned is it was a way to create, right, an endless aisle, the assortment that the consumer wants. And it took about 20 years for her to catch up, or him or them. But now today, with serving all of our clients, we're really trying hard to give them what they want. And with e-commerce, we can.
Thanks for that, Lisa. And yeah, I think fondly back to the time when I first met you. I think if we'd had a couple more distribution centers strategically located around the country to take better advantage of the shipping prices, it would have been a different story, possibly. But in any event, it's so good to reconnect with you. And Rhonda, great to be here with you today. My question's for Rachel. Rachel, hey, how you doing? If you listen to this podcast, you know that our favorite topic is retail media. So I'm going to go right to that with you, given your area of expertise. What's the importance of retail media advertising in this cookieless world, and how is MPG enabling that for your clients? Like, what are the trends you're seeing in omnichannel that you think you're telling your clients they need to be prepared to address, particularly as it relates to retail media?
Interestingly, there were some members of the MPG media team that were at Adweek this past week. I'm sure I saw your post on LinkedIn. You were there. You guys were there. And we've also posted a TikTok video on LinkedIn yesterday. So super cool. Just really fun seeing familiar faces, breaking bread with many different media agencies, the tech providers in this space. I felt the energy, which is like super exciting. And I'm sure you guys did too this week in New York. So this was a super hot topic, as you guys heard also during Adweek, the importance of first-party data in this cookieless world, right? So at MPG, we have part of our e-commerce structures, we have a media arm that helps our brand run PPC, search, as well as DSP across Amazon and also retailer.com. And because in this case, our DSP capabilities, we're able to help our brand show advertisements to consumers based on their shopping history on Amazon. Walmart is right behind them, and it's really just only a matter of time before the rest of the retailer media networks shore up their capabilities and leverage this data, right? But at the end of the day, our goal at MPG is to connect consumers with our clients' brands to be exactly where they are, shopping from that discovery phase to that conversion relative to path to purchase. And your second question about what are the trends that we're seeing right now, and what are some of the advice or watch out that we would advise our clients or our partners? There's really three big focus areas for us: connected commerce, omnichannel, and the rise of retail media networks. So first, focus and intertwining efforts in engaging consumers across all of those touch points. And I talked about earlier our vision, and that stayed true across how we think of connected commerce is capturing and delighting consumers at that point of market entry. And then the second one is shopper. The shopper sees one retailer. They don't care if it's Walmart.com. They don't care if it's Walmart in store or OPD. Brick and mortar and e-commerce teams need to be more closely together, as well as the sales and marketing team. They need to be best friends or besties, because the shopper only sees one ecosystem, whether that's, again, the click and collect, in store, ship to home, doesn't matter, right? It needs to be seamless shopping experience. And then the third thing and the last thing that I'll point out as a food for thought, if you will, is that reviewing channel and retailer big bets, determining where they need to overlay and amplify the spend so that they can drive traffic and conversion online and in store, leveraging their partnerships across all retail media networks. So don't just put all your eggs in one basket from an Amazon standpoint. You have to look at where the shopper is going and invest and overlay some of the campaigns and merchandising strategies that you have.
And I have to imagine that advice is particularly relevant as you consider the category you're in. Like the retail media networks, like just this week, we saw 2 new major retailers announce in-house retail media platform introductions, 7-Eleven and Ahold Delhaize. They had a scaled one, but it was outsourced. They're bringing it in-house. I've got to imagine that, if you're a convenience consumption category, 7-Eleven's going to be very important to you, versus if you're a product that sells through grocery and multi-pack, multi-serve, then in that case the Ahold Delhaize platform is going to be a little more interesting. But you have to take that into account when you decide how which eggs you're going to put in which baskets and how many eggs are going to go there.
That's right.
Just to build on that, one of the things that is my favorite to do now that I'm old is teach digital marketing. And I can tell you...
You're seasoned, Lisa.
Seasoned. And in teaching the digital marketing class and the Master of Digital Marketing, now, if you look at what the syllabus was a few years ago, there was no retail media network or platform. There was no digital shelf. I would say now about 40% of the class is focused on that. So Rachel's coming to talk to the class, and I think that's very telling in terms of where the market has gone.
Yeah, the other thing that I would add also is it's really interesting, and Shri, you can appreciate this. Peter, you can appreciate this. We're doing a lot of work with the big companies on JBP. They don't know, and I say that respectfully, but they don't know what they don't know in terms of how to manage JBP at the retailer level, in terms of negotiation. They think it's like in some respects, and Rachel, you jump in, but they think it's like a point of entry and a point of doing business. And we're like, no, you need to negotiate everything. And they just don't know how to put the puzzle together, right? In terms of all of these buckets of spend and how to ROI retail media. What are you getting for it? What are you spending? And what your negotiation points are, which I think is really critical as our clients move forward on how they're thinking about that spend.
Well said. Rachel, you took it right from the top over here when you spoke to 2 things mattering a lot these days, retail media networks and the other one being connected commerce. So I'm, of course, inclined to ask you, is that what a digital first mentality is? And if it is MPG living this statement in your commitments and all the partnerships you all are executing every single day with your clients?
I'd say that this phrase digital first mindset has been used so many times, even when I first started my journey in e-commerce several years ago. And yes, I mean, in my opinion, everyone within the organization needs to live and breathe e-commerce. Every function needs to think end-to-end digital thinking across the organization, both vertically as well as horizontally. And it goes back to that core shopper in mind, because their behavior has shifted and changed dramatically. You may have a shopper that may start their journey in store and they may end up online, or vice versa. And so if one function is only focused on, let's just say, traditional sales, and they may not necessarily think about the shopper starting their journey online and influencing that path to purchase, that they may be they may miss out on that opportunity to convert them. And so that's why that's really important in terms of this digital first mentality and embracing that across all of the organization. I don't know, Rhonda or Lisa, if you guys have any thoughts around there.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add to that, Rachel, is digital first. Certainly from an MPG standpoint, everything that we do has a digital lens on it in one way, shape, or form, right? I mean, it's multifunctional. That said, I would also include direct-to-consumer as part of, right? So there's a difference between running a brand online, in-store, omni focused, but direct-to-consumer is becoming more critical in terms of having the relationship and the data available, the relationship with the consumer, as well as the data, which is very unique versus just having call it a digital strategy without a direct-to-consumer. And not every brand needs one, but direct-to-consumer is really prominent right now in this space as well.
All right. So thank you for that, Rhonda. I've got to imagine that a lot of your clients come to you with the question of, should I be doing direct to consumer? And there's a lot of thought that goes into, I'm sure, the recommendations you make around the nature of the product, what their relationships are with their existing retail customers. But I guess my question that leads into something that probably all three of you will chime in, but I'll start with you, Rhonda. How should organizations structure themselves to succeed in digital leadership? Are there some best-in-class models that you've helped to orchestrate through your consulting work with these clients?
Yeah, and I have to tell you, Shri, I laughed more than once at this question just because there's not one answer. And I remember working with Shri probably 5 years ago or so on a project, and I remember saying to his team, just when you think you've got it figured out, something changes, right? So what I would tell you is that as you think about your organizational structure, and Rachel has a good point of view here, by the way, also, but as you think about the structure, it needs to be very interconnected, but you also need to accept the fact that whatever you put in place today probably needs to change in 6 months, in 12 months. And there's this balance of what do you want to own internally? What are you willing to pay for in terms of expertise? And then what do you want to borrow from a marketplace expertise standpoint? I still feel like it's a big wheel of internal headcount, internal employees, interconnectivity cross-functionally, which I think is really critical. But aside from that, how do you fill in the gaps with partners? Because again, just when you think you've got it figured out, something changes. The last thing I would say is, and I've learned this over the last number of years of building out this capability with MPG, there is no one person you can hire that has all the expertise in this space. There's no one person. You can hire a person that's a great leader that can orchestrate the capability, but there is no one person. And if you think you're going to get that,
Rhonda, what about the CPG guys?
Except for you, Shri. Except for you guys.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you for that caveat. Thank you for that caveat.
Rhonda, I set you up by saying the CPG guys, there's S in guys, and you still went to one person.
But yeah, I mean, it is continuously changing. And just, again, when you think you've got it figured out, you need something different. You need somebody else. You need a different agency. So Rachel, I don't know if there's anything you want to add there.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, the only thing that I'll plug there is agility is very important in building these structures, because you may think, to your point, you have it all figured out, but something will change in terms of, I'll use Amazon as an example. They launched Amazon Marketing Cloud. Now, all of a sudden, if you have everything all internally And you're looking at this data. I'm like, well, how am I going to decode it? Am I going to get a SQL analyst or a specialist to do this? A completely new role. But no, you'd rely on tech partners to be able to help you figure that out, or your agency partner. So again, it's constantly evolving. So it's important to keep your mind open when you're building your digital organization, so that you don't become obsolete, so that you can continue to do what you want to do, which is serve your retailers and also convert your consumers into your brand.
And I'm just going to add to that, since Rhonda mentioned gap fillers, that's FlexForce. That's what we do. So if you have a need, whether it's on your digital and e-com team, your marketing or sales team, but you don't have headcount, or you're not exactly yet sure how that structure is going to work out, that's a great place for us. And our team is seasoned, loved your term, Peter, enough to not need training, to be able to go in and right off the bat, take the reins and keep a business humming. I've watched this team assemble departments and then change, like Rachel said, even in 1 year, watching the change and the need for being nimble. I think that's what makes a great leader, recognizing that you won't know everything and staffing yourself with people who are empathetic and also nimble.
Lisa, I think it's great you talk about FlexForce, because to your point, in a full employment economy, finding the resources to fill those roles, it can be challenging. And the time it takes to upskill people within your organization to do that, again, takes an inordinate amount of time. For MPG to just be able to insert itself with some seasoned professionals that have experience keeps your clients from skipping a beat, and they get right on to doing the work that they need to do for whatever reason that vacancy has occurred. Someone's on maternity leave, or someone has taken another role. You're there to help them bridge the gap and carry on with their mission without losing any time. I think that's pretty terrific. Shri, I'll pass it back to you.
Well articulated, Peter, but I did have a question for the three of you ladies, right? I think you guys have already clearly established at this stage that no one person can be this do-it-all, knows-it-all kind of, because it's an ever-changing world in CPG than it's ever been before. Is there, when you work across such a plethora of brands, etc., are there a group of brands, or is there a particular category that you see is more proficient in this space, like perhaps the beauty and skincare category or the pet care category? I just don't know any better. Looking to you all to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction to that question is, I think our larger clients have the resources. I don't know if I could articulate it as proficient with, so they have the resources. The interesting thing is some of our smaller clients are much more nimble, scrappy, and get it done, right? Because they don't have the resources. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, Shri, but there's this balance of our smaller clients, smaller brands are much more scrappy, and they work on their most important priorities because they have to drive the revenue, right? Larger brands have the complexity of structure, and sometimes they can't get out of their own way. What's interesting is we're working with a number of large clients where they have the resources, they have the structure, and they ask us to plug and play in certain areas to just help them with, I'm going to say, more executional elements where they don't have the A capacity, B capability, and or expertise. So it's really interesting. It's not a one size fits all. I wish I could say it was, but it really isn't. Like I have a client, Shri, right now. I have a client right now that we serve in their digital marketing role. We're a digital marketing team for them. We manage 9 agencies. Should they have 9 agencies? Debatable. But at the end of the day, they had nobody to do the work. And so we stepped in as the digital marketer. We oversee the 9 agencies. We've got the flywheel moving, right? And so it really, again, it just depends. I don't think there's one answer here.
I have an opinion. Just Shri mentioned 2 categories, beauty and pet. And I actually think those are both really cutting edge categories in terms of doing it right. In pet, we just did a case study on Chewy, truly understanding the consumer, the shopper, and the baby, which is the pet, and being able to gather data. We talked a lot about the importance of first-party data, but it's not just gathering the data, it's leveraging the data. And I happen to think that retailer does it really well. Witness my credit card and my Chewy charges every month. That's just one example, I think.
Let me remind our audience that Peter and I are actually speaking with Rachel Tatro, Lisa Kent, and Rhonda Johnson from the Market Performance Group. And I'm going to come back a little bit to Rhonda over here, and then I'll start with Rachel and come back to Rhonda's comment about just skill sets for today. But Rachel, why don't we tee this one up? Who do you see as a modern commercial leader in, I would say, both CPG and retail? What are type of the skill sets? We've arguably mentioned a little bit about omnichannel. Earlier in this podcast, we spoke to the importance of the planogram. And then Rhonda, let me come back to you to wrap it up with your thoughts as well, and then how clients are leveraging y'all as this modern commercial leader.
Yeah, I think a modern commercial leader nowadays, both in CPG and retail, is someone who not only understands how to, first of all, do their job well, right? But also to leverage each function and knows how to stitch the strategies together across to win with the shoppers. They need to be two things: change agent, and they need to be able to bring everyone along the journey, particularly in this space. And then the last point that I want to make here is they need to be a master of their category, the shopper and the retailer that they're servicing across the board. I don't know, Rhonda or Lisa, if you guys have any additional thoughts there.
Yeah, the one thing I would add, because I thought about this, Shri, and I take this, pretty seriously in terms of what makes a great leader, modern commercial leader, right? And having lived through growing up on the manufacturing side, managing brands and huge organizations, and now having spent 8 years or so with MPG, the thing I've learned is vulnerability. And often you hit these levels in your career where you're very senior, right? And you feel the burden of having to know everything. And what I've learned over the last 8 years is helping people understand vulnerability in terms of what you don't know and how to really surround yourselves outside of your organization, internally as well, but outside of your organization. Who are your mentors? Who are your advisors? And mentors and advisors are very different. Mentors to me are the, where you can totally let your hair down, give them the worst of your day, and they give you advice on how to fix that, right? That's a mentor. An advisor is an expert where you're vulnerable and you say, I don't know enough about retail media. Can you teach me? An advisor doesn't need to be more senior than you or at your level. They just need to be somebody that's expert where, can you teach me? I want to get smarter in this space. I don't know enough, right? And so the best commercial leader today has that vulnerable perspective on, I don't know everything, and I need to surround myself by people that can help me be smarter in a very, call it, overt way.
I remember the first time I met Rachel, she was getting ready to go sit for a long lunch with a senior leader who had that very question, Rhonda. How do I better understand e-commerce and retail media? And she just went and spent a couple hours with this person. And that person happened to be a client, but they don't have to be a client to leverage our expertise. It's just something we do. And I have to say, I talked about teaching. Everybody I work with at MPG doesn't just do it. They like to do it.
We love to do it. Not just we love to do it.
This all reminds me of a story that I know of a young man who was moving up the ranks at PepsiCo in the sales organization. When the head of one of the divisions tapped him to start up an e-commerce practice. And he thought this could have been the kiss of death for his career. And so he went to an advisor, someone who was junior to him in the organization, a woman by the name of Elena Parlatore. Elena, we're giving you another shout out on this podcast. And he said to her, teach me everything I need to know. Why should I consider taking this job in e-commerce? And she did exactly that. And he ended up doing that. And, I think he's kind of made something of himself in this world. Wouldn't you say, Shri?
I'm waiting for an introduction to this guy, Peter. So at some point, hopefully we can.
I will introduce you to him.
When it comes down to Rhonda, it's always legends in our own minds. It's legends in our own minds.
All right, Lisa, I want to go back to a topic that we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, which is about talent and finding the talent to get the work that you need done. We've heard this term, the Great Resignation. It's one of the many terms that the pandemic has brought upon our industry. From your perspective, what does that mean? Is it real? And what can an organization do to either keep its people or in the event that they do lose their people, how is FlexForce enabling their ability to continue the work that they need to get done?
Thank you for asking that, Peter. First, let me say it is real. This is an incredibly tight labor market, and people during COVID and post-COVID have really reevaluated their passions and how or if they want to commit themselves to corporate America. So we are seeing lots of openings. The other thing that's happening is there's not just maternity leave anymore, there's paternity leave. So family leaves exist in a broader way. People are taking them as they should, and they're longer than they ever were before. Companies are offering that to make sure, to your point, they can retain their talent. They can allow them to care for their families and stay a part of the corporate team. But when somebody leaves for 3 months or 6 months, the business doesn't stop, the brand doesn't go away, and that's where FlexForce can come in and help. Now, I'm going to say that while this is a very challenging time, FlexForce was started almost 22 years ago, and I thought that was a challenging time. So there is no time when we don't need great talent, and we don't need great talent to fill in gaps. It just happens that at this moment, the environment is such that we need even more than we might have needed a few years ago. But even if the job markets open up, companies just don't have the time and money to onboard and train. So they really do need experienced professionals to jump in and help keep the business running, whether it's an acquisition, a divestiture, a family leave, or just a peak workload where they want to help take the pressure off the folks that are in the organization. And I guess if I could say anything about retention right now, I talked earlier about empathy. Think about the folks who are left behind in the Great Resignation and the quiet quitting trend. And if you want to manage their lives in a way that they stay with you, you have to supplement them so they're not burnt out too. So great opportunity to talk a little bit about FlexForce, and I think 2023 is going to be another year where there's lots of need. But 21 years and counting, so far, plenty of opportunity all along.
Well said. So obviously, we've already recognized at the top of this podcast, we've all worked with each other in past lives. We know y'all from other forums and direct connections. I'd love to know each of the three of your commitments to this journey of a changing world.
Our journey in the changing world. So remember before I said I'm seasoned. And the wonderful thing about having done this work for so many years is I feel like I now know how little I know. And so being vulnerable, as Rhonda said, I always want to learn. And I think that might take me, who knows, in what direction. I'd like to go to Rachel's team next and learn more about e-commerce because we were there way too early, Peter. But now's the time. Now's the moment. So my commitment to the journey is to stay here, to keep learning. And for those of you who know me and those who are listening to the podcast, to pull up women with me. And so that means giving them flexibility, making sure they're well-trained and educated and valued in their organization and not burnt out. So that's me.
So Lisa, that was very eloquent, and I don't know that I could follow you on that one, but, I would just echo what Lisa said, which is, what we've learned at MPG and being part of Market Performance Group is we are continuously learning. And I would tell you, just when we think we've got something figured out, something changes. You guys know this. We've had 4 acquisitions over the last 12 months. We are continuing to evolve. Just when we think we've got the business model in a good place, we bolt on a new business, we bolt on a new capability, we bolt on a new acquisition. But I say that in the context of, continuous learning, seasoned, but continuously learning. What I've learned over the last 8 years with MPG, I would never give back. And I know that I'm going to, as part of this team, I'm going to continue to learn and be part of the evolution.
I think for me, it's the learning aspect of it, but also sharing that. And that's one of the main reasons why I've joined MPG is because of the different experiences I have across categories and companies in helping build e-commerce and omnichannel capabilities. I want to be able to help many more companies in their journey and build their capabilities in this space and share those learnings that I've acquired over the years. And some of them are obsolete now at this point, right? And because I'm still learning and because the technology and the space is evolving, but it's sharing that to the broader client partners as well as future partners as well.
Well, I've known MPG now for quite some time. You are a revered and respected organization in our industry, leading from marketing strategy to activation. And what I want to know from you, Rhonda, in particular, is given the fact that you have bolted on these other companies and you've created understanding where there were gaps and where you needed to build capabilities, what should this industry expect next from Marketing Performance Group? What's coming up that you see your need to develop capabilities in around omnichannel, digital, and how do you see that it manifesting itself, certainly over the coming year or two?
Yeah, interesting. I'm going to repeat myself here in terms of just when you think you've got us figured out, something else will change. I mentioned that we've had 4 acquisitions over the last 12 months or so, but we really do follow our clients in terms of what the business needs are, and that's laser focus for us. What I would tell you is you should expect, we didn't mention, bodies at this point, but, Rachel is 75 plus strong. And she's an end-to-end e-commerce, omni-channel capability, very full service. That's going to continue to grow. It's one of our top priorities. The other area that I would say that we're focused on is upskilling talent, really critical. And I say upskilling, it's a little different than just learning and development. It really is around how do you upskill as your business models are changing and evolving and you're under more business pressure, P&L challenges, pressure, et cetera. How do you upskill your teams to get really comfortable in that space? So that's number 2. Number 3, we're spending a lot of time right now in supply chain, just in general, right? So everything from CMO consolidation support for our clients all the way through to how do you get more nimble and really manage an efficient supply chain based on Walmart stores becoming warehouses. That's reality, right? So just know that, I feel like we've got a really good compass on where we need to continue to focus. We've got great strength at this point, great strength in account management and order to cash and omni and consulting strategy. But we never, ever sit idle. ever, ever. And I think everybody on the phone can attest to that. We never sit idle in trying to follow the puck and making sure that we're either building out capability and or finding partners that we can acquire or partner with, frankly. We don't have to acquire them either. But that's really what you should expect from MPG.
I know when Peter heard the word puck, he was immediately reacting because it's his favorite Wayne Gretzky quote. But let me remind our audience, you can find all of our content on our website by going to a browser, typing cpgguys.com. If you think your company has some thought leadership to contribute to our community discussion, drop us an email at contact@cpgguys.com. Again, contact@cpgguys.com. And maybe you can feature right here and join us on the podcast. Don't forget to drop us a rating. You can do that easily by going to the top of our website, cpgguys.com, and you'll find a little link that says rating. Yes, that easy. Navigation bar on top. To our 17,000 plus followers on LinkedIn, I can't thank you enough for the love you show us. The fact that you come here and you send us direct messages, you contribute by the clicks, the likes, and all the comments you leave on all our posts, Peter and I are grateful. Rachel, Rhonda, Lisa, thank you to all three of you for joining us today. It was a pleasure to host all three of you.
Thanks, Shri. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
Mr. Bond, it's that time of the episode. To recap.
Yeah, I'm going to try and be brief here, Shri. What I hear from MPG is they're a full service marketing agency, from strategy design to execution activation, and even with the resources, the human capital resources, to supplement the work that an organization is doing, either because someone has left the organization, someone is temporarily on leave, or they just need a skill set for a particular period of time. They can bring that all together, and that they are very squarely focused on omnichannel excellence with a digital first approach to how they're taking about the work that they're charged with doing. So it seems like MPG has stayed on top of their game. They've earned the reputation as being the preeminent performance consulting group in this industry, and I'm really glad to learn about where they're taking the business going forward.
Thank you so much for that, Peter. Pleasure doing this week over week with you, sir. And that's a wrap for this episode of the CPG Guys. Thank you to all of you for joining us.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.